Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of What's Happening. I'm George Binns, along with Gail Burke, Elliot Margolis, and Stuart Gardner. And this is about a week after the election, midterms, and hopefully enough dust is settled we can make some cogent comments. So, Stuart, what's cogent?
Well, I think it's a huge win for the Democrats, and even a bigger win for democracy itself. I think that what's obvious.
What do you got in that couple?
I did an alcohol test before. What I think it's clear is that the country's divided, right?
Yep.
Every election is 0.3, 0.5 apart. It's definitely on both sides, right? I also think that the side that doesn't like the president think he's a dictator, think he is power hungry. They think he thinks he's above the law. I could shoot someone in New York City and they wouldn't prosecute me. So what this did for that half of the people, it gave them a voice. It gave them a check on the president. And I think it would have been intolerable if the president had kept both the House and the Senate.
Why do you say that? I don't understand how you consider
Which I said a bunch of things.
Well, for instance, you said it's a huge win for the Democrats.
I think so too. I think it is.
The House was a win.
Yeah.
They did not win the Senate. Republicans picked up several Senate seats. The fact that they're still debating about some of these contests in Florida, in Arizona, in Georgia, is not a win for democracy.
If we're just talking numbers, we picked up 40 seats in the House, which gives us complete control. And the Senate seats that the Republicans picked up are like Montana and like Republican strongholds that you should have had anyway. There was a couple. One's North Dakota, Montana. There's another one.
I don't think we won Montana.
They get the same vote as any other senator, don't they?
No, but they're
yes,
but
they do.
They do, but the Senate seats that the Republicans picked up were Republican districts that were in Democratic hands, that were strong Republican districts. We also picked up 7 governors' houses, and then obviously we've got what's going on in Florida, we've got what's going on in Arizona, we've got what's going on in Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay, but what's the difference between this past election and the midterm elections of Obama and of Clinton? Because when you come right down to it, these weren't nearly as disastrous for Trump as they were for Obama and Clinton in terms of numbers. Remember, Trump still gained in the Senate, and Obama and Clinton both lost both houses.
They got shellacked.
But that's number one. Number two, and more importantly, think about the press, and think about how over 90% of the stories of the press are anti-Trump, and even with that. And of course, most of them are lies.
Yeah,
but that's a separate issue. But even with that, the Democrats lost more seats in the Senate and did not gain nearly as many seats in the House as Obama lost or Clinton lost. So one could argue that this was still a Trump victory.
So let's go back to the first comment. I don't agree with the 90% are anti-Trump. They might not be pro-Trump, but I think there's a disagreement on what's middle-of-the-road article and what's pro-Trump and what's anti-Trump. But again, this president's different, and you guys don't see it, and I agree. Like, I've come to that realization, right? I'm not here on this TV show to convince you guys of anything, because I'm not going to. I'm on this TV show because to affect the 6 people or 8 people or 50,000 people that are watching, right?
You mean all of our fans?
The one person out there with an open mind who goes, oh, maybe that's it. And I'll say this again, Trump is different than Obama, he's different than Bush, he's different than everyone. Here's the thing, there are a lot of things that actually I like about Trump, right? I'm not anti-Trump or everything. What I don't like about him is the comments that he makes about being above the law, the comments he makes about he started tweeting about changing the Constitution, about citizenship birth. I can just write a piece of paper and I can executive order, I can change the Constitution. Even if that's not true, and he knows that's not true, that is a dangerous statement to make to the general public.
I don't understand. He's going to change the Constitution.
He said he could do an executive order to change the birthright.
To change the birthright censorship.
That's not part of the Constitution.
That's what
is.
problem comes in.
It is changing the Constitution.
No, sir.
Because it's a Supreme Court
14th
decision.
Amendment.
It's the 14th Amendment.
Understand.
It's the 14th Amendment. It says that people that are born in this country are
That
citizens.
ain't all it says. That's the problem.
What he said he could change it with a stroke of a pen, but that's not the point. The point is he said I can change that part of it. He said I could do something, and that scares me to death because what's him to stop saying?
What scares me to death is when you say he's going to change the Constitution.
No,
he's not going to. He never said he was going to change it.
He did.
He was going to change the interpretation and the implementation of that law.
He said his tweet said, and I don't have it on me. His tweet said, I can make it so that. Citizens born in this country are not necessarily citizens.
Yes.
He's talking about
is- understand.
babies.
That is not changing the
I am still-
Constitution.
it's-
That's reinterpreting it, and that's what
But
an
it's not
executive.
his job to interpret the Constitution. It's the Supreme
It's
Court's
his-
job to interpret the Constitution.
Let's back it up
It's his
again.
job to execute the commands
Yes.
of the laws of the United
And
States.
he is the one that has to read the words and say, this is what they mean, and
no,
this is...
no.
Yes,
That's the
sir.
Supreme Court. I disagree with you
Supreme
wholeheartedly.
Court can change the interpretation, but he can make an interpretation. Say, this is the law I was handed to enforce. This is how I'm going to enforce it.
And
I'm
then it would
reading
be
it-
up to the Supreme Court
Then
to make
if
that
that-
decision.
that's
It's
right.
up to either the Congress or the Senate to make a change.
We've got a president that says he is above the law.
Oh, wait a
No.
minute.
He
Hold
did.
on.
He said he could shoot someone in the middle of New York
Oh,
City.
he's
and it wouldn't
making
matter.
jokes.
Oh, for
You know
crying
what?
out loud.
It's not. It's a joke to the four of us because we're educated and we went to school and we understand. It's not a joke to a third of the country who says, "I don't." The president says I can do this. The president says I can do that.
What
That's
about
not a joke.
Obama?
It's not-
Obama did things that he knew were wrong.
He's not president anymore.
No.
He was,
He's not
and
president
nobody said a word. The press didn't make a big deal out of it,
And that's
the
the,
liberals
that's the
didn't
key,
either.
because when Trump, first of all, with a
That's the
heavy heart,
difference.
I have to agree with you that sometimes Trump says things
Yeah.
that he shouldn't say.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's more often than I'd like to admit. That being said, it's time to have a sense of humor, number one,
Yeah.
and it's time to stop being politically correct, number two.
I agree with both
Now,
those.
when he says certain stupid stuff, and we all say it, stupid stuff, I mean.
Never. I don't.
Except for lawyers. Because
We're getting paid
don't
for
know
it, so
the
we don't-
difference.
Especially this
But they
lawyer.
don't know the difference between stupid stuff and real stuff. But that being said, have a sense of humor. You're reading between the lines of what he's
A
saying.
stuff that isn't there.
Let me say this. So the reason why people have the right to print what they want or assemble or other stuff is the Constitution. But it's in everyone's hearts and minds that we believe it to be true, right? You believe that the Globe, even though you don't like it, has the right to print what you want.
Yeah.
You're like, it's crap. You believe that you don't like CNN, but it has the right. When you start putting doubts, and the only reason why it works is because the FBI agent believes that, and the president should believe that, everyone believes that. When you start putting doubts in people's minds of our constitutional rights, we are screwed because they'll start coming. You've got a Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable search and seizure. You've got an Eighth Amendment right against unfair punishment and
You're talking too fast.
but what I'm
Slow
saying is, you said to me, why do I think that the Democrats and democracy won this election? Because finally, the guy that is putting questions about the elections, it's they're not fair and lots of illegals vote and all this stuff. Now, here's the thing: it might be true, it might not be true. He doesn't have any evidence to show. He just says it.
He does.
There's
lots of evidence to show.
The lawyer for it's either Gillum or
Down in
Democrat
Florida.
guy that's running for
Right.
Yeah.
Florida governor.
yeah.
His
The
governor
lawyer,
said-
the lawyer says, "I'm coming here to win this election."
Yeah.
Not, I'm coming here to make sure that the election is run fairly or to count the ballots.
Well, the
and see
Trumpism,
who
I
won.
agree.
I'm here to win the election. You know what that says?
Yep.
If the press was
Sure,
being
sure.
real, that says I'm here to cheat and make sure that I
I
win.
put that in the same league as what Trump says. I agree.
Okay, but the difference being, if Trump says it, it's all over the press and it's all negative. If a Democrat says it, it
It's
means
okay.
absolutely
So,
nothing.
all right, so I'll agree a little bit, but some lawyer coming in to represent the governor of one of the guys who ran for governor of Florida is different than the the most powerful man in the world. Again, I'm going to say to you guys, you know, we understand jokes, we understand brevity, we understand, well, he doesn't really mean that. And I told you, we could have a show about, we could love Trump, and I have shows about things that he does with China, with Israel, with other things. I think
Well,
he does.
isn't a lot of that stuff more important than what he
Yeah.
says about this, that, and the other thing?
So, no.
This is the real issue that's facing this country. We've got some real concerns with some of the internal mechanisms that are running loose in this country, like health care. That was the #1 issue in everybody's mind. And who talks about it? What do you hear about it? All they argue about is, should we save Obamacare or not?
And I'll tell
Nobody
you,
wants to get down to the nitty gritty of, we got a big problem with healthcare. We got to fix it. We've got a problem with the world in terms of free trade. We've been carrying the world for an awful long time, since the end of World War II. And all of a sudden, guys, it's about time you stood on your own 2 feet and you provided your own defense. And you stopped forcing our companies to give all of their trade secrets away to do business in you.
I agree.
So these are the real issues that ought to be being described, and they're not.
and what about the people, major people that ran? What do they run on? We have to impeach the president. Impeach, impeach, impeach. That's what they talk about. They talk about open borders. Who is going to be helped by open borders?
So I did hear the impeach stuff. I haven't heard any open borders.
Open borders,
And I
absolutely.
challenge you next time to give me a Democratic statement that they want open borders. I don't think anyone.
It's
But let's go
all
back to
over
the
the
impeachment.
place.
Let's go back to the impeachment.
You,
I don't.
you go to Pelosi. Pelosi's one that wants open
I'm gonna go to.
borders.
I'll go to a website tonight, and I'll even. But that's. Let's go to impeachment. I don't want to impeach the president. All right. The younger
Well, you
people.
need to have a reason to impeach him.
The
There aren't any
younger
reasons.
people, the new House Congresswoman elect from Somerville, Ayanna
Yeah.
Presley, right?
Yeah.
She's talking about impeachment and stuff. And
The
I
one
think
from New
I think
York
what
is, too.
yeah, I think what you're seeing is what I was talking about before. A younger generation that have I get George. There are tons of problems that aren't being resolved or even talked about, but the younger generation believes in ideals. They believe in, as I said, the Constitution and the right to do all this stuff and the right for press and the right of freedoms. And what they see from Mr. Trump are tweets, even though they might be jokes, even though I'll bet if we took 100 Trump fans in here, 70 of them would say, God, I wish you would stop tweeting like this, right? What they see is, that's all they know, right? They're 25 or 30 years old.
He has no other outlet
so-
because every time he says something, the press blows it all out of
He's got
proportion.
Fox News and
and
the
I'll
most-
tell
the most
you,
popular news
I will tell you
organization.
something that
They're
scares
the
me.
most popular
and that's,
cable news station.
What?
That's right. I'll tell you what scares me is how these college kids, they don't believe in freedom of speech. They only believe in freedom of speech if you agree with them.
I agree. Well, I
That
agree that
scares me.
I agree that our college kids today aren't as
And that's
good.
what they're
Aren't as
learning.
good as hearing both sides and saying, you know what, we need to do. But Mr. Trump isn't helping.
Wait a minute, it's the liberal professors that are teaching this.
I'm not sure if it's liberal professors
Yes,
or
it
just
is.
or more of a generational thing about how kids were
It's
raised.
the liberal
But you know
professors
what the
that
biggest-
invade the colleges.
To me, one of the biggest problems with Presley and some of the other liberals is, yeah, they're idealistic, no question. But they don't understand the consequences of their actions.
they don't.
And liberals in general have no clue on what the consequences of their actions are. Okay, it's nice to say people from Guatemala who are poor, come on in, we'll help you. Who's paying for it? Where are they going to live? And who's going to pay the rent? Who's going to, it's nice to help people, no question. But why is it our responsibility? Why don't we go to Guatemala and say, here, take care of your own people?
So I'll agree with a lot of that, but it seems to me like when we want to fight a war, we find $50 billion or $150 billion. It seems to me when we want to give companies breaks, tax breaks, we find ways to give companies tax breaks. It seems to me like, and I agree, right? I'm not an open border guy, and I'm not let everyone in. And I even like the idea of like having, as we talked about before, a group of people that can work and a group of people that are the intelligentsia, the for lack of a better word, the higher class, right? Because I want that. I want the best and brightest to be in the United States. But every time the argument of money comes up, it seems to me like we all have all this money for the richest companies in the world, and we've got billions and billions. We've got billionaires, but we don't have the money to give to immigrants.
We are the
that need to come.
How
most
many?
generous country in the world in terms of foreign aid.
So let's pull that back and send it. Put it here. I'm fine with that. I don't know why we have
Well,
military. I
who
don't
do
know
you
what
think
military
is taking
bases
care
in
of
France.
No, this
Who are
is
the
where-
people that are now on the borders? Who do you think is providing food and shelter for them?
The cartels.
The cartels? Yeah. Okay. And what
dealers.
happens? Okay. And what are they here? Why are they providing the food?
Because they're future clients, I guess.
There you go. And these are the people we want to stay out of here.
Yeah, I don't. This is a non sequitur argument because I mean I'll agree with you guys on a lot of that stuff. I mean I'm pro-immigrant. I'm not.
We're all pro-immigrant, but I think we're all pro-legal
So
immigrants,
what
not
your guy does,
illegals.
again, I'll go back to your guy. What your guy does is said they're coming across the border and they're murderers and rapists, okay? There are...
No, he's
He
not
never
saying that.
said that.
No, he
No,
didn't. He
he
said
didn't say
some
that.
are.
Some are, but
That makes the
see?
difference, and that's where
That's
this whole
right.
thing...
But you guys are smart again. Again, I get it. What's
But
the
they-
innuendo, though?
but
It's when you open the
most
door,
people
the murderers
hear
and
what you
rapists come
said.
in.
They
right?
are coming in.
They are.
I get it, but
How many, okay, by your account, how many MS-13 are there?
I don't know.
Whatever happened to the Jamaican posse?
I don't know.
I understand you don't know.
I don't know.
I understand you
right.
don't, but that is where the real
That's where
problem
they
is,
are.
and you don't know what the numbers are. You don't know what the date is, but you say he's wrong when he says something about it.
So
How
this
can
is-
you be that inconsistent?
So it's not. I'm all for you. We're arguing the same point. I don't want to let these people in. I don't want. Or when I want to catch them, I want to put some way to seal the border and have people that we want to
Sure,
come
they-
in. But I also don't want to demonize immigration, and that's what I think your
That's
guy's done.
no.
No.
That
To half
is
the country would
press.
say- to half
the
the-
press is
That's-
demonizing immigration because they lump everybody together. They lump the legal immigrants and the illegals all together, and then they say those Republicans, they hate immigration. That's
If you
not
go
true.
back into
It's
recent
not
history,
true.
and when I'm saying recent history, I'm talking about Obama, I'm talking about Clinton. Both of them have said we need to protect our borders, we need to not let illegal immigrants
great.
in. And
They
all of
didn't
a
do it.
sudden,
And what-
because Trump is president, let them in.
Wait a second. Why didn't we get a border wall or more border security when Trump was the president and he had the House and the Senate?
You're Democrats. Why didn't we get it?
Why didn't we get it? It was
I
the
don't know.
Republican.
Why didn't we get it?
Republican-controlled House, Republican-controlled Senate, Republican president that wants to build a wall.
Did Obama ever say he wanted to build a wall?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
Did
think so.
Clinton ever say he wanted to build a wall?
He just said that they both said they want.
both-
They want
they
one-
both-
one border security.
they
You
both-
can go look up the 1993 Clinton State of the Union message.
Yeah. Did you memorize it?
Oh, yeah. And he's saying we've got too many immigrants coming across the border, and we need to do something about it.
I agree.
He didn't do anything
didn't
about
do
it.
I agree.
it.
But why? We're not talking. So
all
can-
these
so
years
can-
later, they're blaming
Can
Trump.
we answer? But can we answer questions without saying Obama or Bush or Clinton?
No,
Why
because
not?
that's
Can you answer
part
the
of the
question
It's
without
real
saying
simple.
problem.
I-
It's
The
part of
answer
the
is real
problem.
simple. The
Trump
an-
is the president now.
The answer is that Democrats and Republicans are more interested in getting reelected than they are doing their job.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
And that's
So
the
that is
problem.
one of the real fundamental problems
They
with
are
this past
the
election.
535 morons
Right.
that we have in Washington right now
Right.
are poster people for term limits.
So wait a second. So let me just say this. Let me postulate that maybe the good idea is to have the super liberals in there that don't want to care about getting reelected, that have high ideals, that have that have high ideals, that
And
can
who
maybe
are
get
you
some stuff done.
referring to?
No, I have a
Who
fun-
are you referring
I
to?
don't know. Just
Okay, I don't
smart-
either.
I don't know.
I
The
don't
smart
know any
super liberals.
liberals.
We
Super
don't-
liberals. There are some.
Smart
We need to
liberal
start off with
moron.
an understanding
With
Yes,
high
sir.
morals.
liberals versus conservatives.
Yes.
Understand? Conservatives base everything on facts and figures. Seriously.
No, it's true.
The school,
Just
no
not
guns.
true. I
Liberals
mean,
are
yes.
all above feelings.
So do liberals too.
No, they
have
do not. Of
course they
all
do.
about feelings.
How
That's
many
what it's all about.
immigrants can we afford to handle in this country?
I have no idea what that
Exactly
number
what
is.
I've said.
I have no idea.
But you want to bring them in anyway.
I don't want to bring them in. I just
Well,
don't
then
want to
how do you want
demonize
to
them.
stop them?
I do want to stop them. I don't want to send.
How do you want
what
to
did we send?
stop
How
them?
many border guards did we send down to the border because
How
of
do
this
you
caravan
want
that's
to
800
stop
miles
them?
away?
That's another interesting thing. Let's see. All
can't
of a
answer
sudden,
that.
I've decided, you know what? I'm going to
wait.
move to this country. I'll call up a friend of mine, and then he'll call up a friend of his. All of a sudden, 5,000 people are coming across. Why hasn't Mexico stopped them?
They want them to go across the border. They don't have to pay for them. So we had this topic a couple shows ago where I said we have the technology right now, right? We know where everyone. If I call Uber, it'll be right here in 4 minutes.
What's that got to do with the border?
Because you're saying, how do we let immigrants in, or we're the right ones in, or whatever? We do.
How do we let legal immigrants in?
We have a guest visa program, and if there's a job for them, or there's work, they have 6 weeks to find a job. If they can't find a job, they got to go, and they make an agreement, and then we send them back.
But that's what happens. You have to
I
face the
understand
reality.
that. Someone's got to
reality of
go
it
with
still.
some sort of rationality to Congress and say,
Well, he's
we
got
need-
to undo
But-
12, 16 years of incompetency.
So is
Especially
let me ask
the
you
last
this,
8 years.
undoing that, having a bunch of crazy people saying build that wall? I just think it's stupid.
Why are they crazy to want to build a wall?
Because, well, first of all, you can't really build a wall there because
Yes, you can.
because there's better ways to spend the money. That's why.
Like how?
I just told you.
You're
Let's-
saying
let's-
technology.
Yes,
that
technology.
takes a lot of time. You're building
How
a
does
wall.
technology-
The wall worked in Israel.
It's a lot smaller of an area, and it's also 5,000 years of difference of time. Yes,
It also stops people from coming in.
I think some of the places
Hey,
have
China
walls.
built a wall, and they haven't had a problem.
I want to go to the Great Wall of China someday.
But the situation comes down to one of, like tonight, we're doing an awful lot of talking,
We are doing.
and we're saying an awful lot, and we're not much different than the Congress, except we don't have any power to
No.
pass laws. They do, and they're not doing it.
I agree with that.
Well, I will have
and yet
to
we
say-
had an election where all the issues that came up were impeach Trump,
Yeah.
or we will investigate him, or we will push more people into this Russian collusion story that has gone nowhere in 2 years. And the big flap right now is Sessions got invited to retire.
And they're making a big stinker
And-
over that.
And all of a sudden, that is the big news item, whether it's going to impact Mueller's investigation. What has he done so
So
far?
we don't know. We don't
We
know.
don't
I think
know.
there's been 11. I think there's been 3 or 4 guilty pleas and 11 indictments. Just so you know,
But
something
that
like
had nothing
But
to
a
do
guilty
with
plea-
the
no,
Russian
I-
problem.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Guilty pleas are indictments for what? Tax evasion?
Tax
Yeah.
evasion.
Something.
What's
so,
that
so
got
hold
to
on.
do
I don't know.
with it? Is that
so,
what he
so
was-
you
It
know
has
what? I am
nothing to do with
perfectly
it.
fine with saying to Mueller,
See you later.
No, give us your investigation. Give us your final answer.
He can't
or no.
find anything.
So then, if he
That's
can't
the
find anything,
problem.
then it's if he can't find anything, he's got no. I don't think that's true. I think if he couldn't find anything, the Senate would have cut him off a while ago. But I think he sat
No,
down.
they
with,
wouldn't.
No.
Of course they would have. What did
I
they
have
don't?
no faith in that comment at all.
I think they would have. But
Yeah.
I think I agree. And by the way, they investigated Clinton. I think the whole 8 years he was in presidency. But I don't bring up old presidents.
Why aren't they investigating
They-
Hillary Clinton?
because
There's the one to investigate.
But why? She's a private citizen.
She wasn't when she committed all those, I'll say, crimes, because they
Yeah.
were.
I think they were like. I don't want to get into Hillary Clinton because there were 8 or 9 independent
course you
investigations on Benghazi that came up with nothing. So I'm not necessarily agree. So
We could start with the charity.
Yeah, it's a
I think
Clinton
on
Foundation.
Mueller, I think that I agree. If in the next, I mean, I would give 90 days or something like that and say, look, do you have, come forth with the evidence or whatnot. But by saying he's done nothing, that's just really not true because we don't know.
He
Maybe
spent a lot
Gail
of
is
money.
right. Maybe
He spent
Gail is right.
a lot of money.
Not as
and
much-
all they have come up with, they've indicted and they've convicted several people that had nothing to do with this
Not as much money as your tax
Trump
breaks gave them.
But
Russian
you know what really bothers me about this
collusion.
whole election thing?
Hit me.
The Democrats are saying we're going to investigate this, investigate this,
Yeah.
investigate this. They're not in the business of investigation. Do their goddamn job and start legislating to what they're supposed to do.
The only thing I heard so far is they want to get Trump's tax returns.
Well,
Why?
what does that
What
got to
difference
do
does it
with
make?
anything?
So
It's got nothing to
there
do
is
with
no
anything.
law that says he's got to
No,
give
I
up
agree with
his
that.
tax.
So I think that if there is a causal link between that and the Russia investigation, it should be done. If there's not, I don't think it's necessary.
There's no need.
We don't know
it's
that.
none of their business.
We don't know
Oh,
that.
yes, we do.
We don't know
After
that.
2 years?
Some
Of course.
investigations take a long time.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
We'll see. We could have a show in 6 months on Bob Mueller.
Well, you know what
and then we
scares
can bring
me?
back these quotes.
Some of these senators that are going to remain in the Senate were the same Democrats who tried to destroy Brett Kavanaugh. They wanted to destroy this man. Why? Because he was a Republican.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I'm not
well,
sure
you
if I agree
go.
with that.
You,
And we can
you
talk about
watch-
Brett Kavanaugh.
You,
Two
wa-
of the
you watch
women
some of
have
the.
already
you want-
recanted their stories.
watch some of the hearings.
You want a Supreme Court justice who
Disgusting.
sits there in front of Congress and said it was Hillary Clinton and the Democrats' fault? How is that impartial?
What?
That is disgusting.
What?
He sat there on the congressional panel and said, I am here because of a conspiracy by Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. And that's on
It's
tape,
true.
and I'll bring that.
It was
But you don't
true.
he's supposed to be impartial. He's supposed to be a judge.
He is not.
No.
You
he's
are.
not an angel. He's not some
he was in
super
a
being.
different-
He's a
God help
man.
us all
He's
if
a
someone
man.
liberals before his court, he's just like, you know what, you liberals screwed me and I'll screw you back.
Oh,
come on.
That's the way liberals think.
That's
Exactly
he said it on
what
camera.
liberals will do.
He said it on camera.
What did he?
You're taking it out of context.
Yeah,
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
He said, I'm here because of a conspiracy by Hillary
was
Clinton and the
where?
liberals. He was in front of Congress.
Yes, and what
front
was
of the Judiciary
Congress?
Committee.
He was in front of the
They were
Judiciary
investigating
Committee.
a credible claim of
No, they
rape.
weren't.
And what
Sure
were
they
they
were.
doing?
Credible?
investigating a
Why
credible
was
claim.
it
You really
credible?
think that was a credible claim?
Sure.
She
You
had
really
no.
think-
There were no evidence.
God
of
help
it.
you guys when a
There was
granddaughter of yours
no-
gets attacked
oh,
and no
please.
one believes her because the guy's white and powerful.
Two
Oh,
of the
come on.
women
It's the truth.
already recanted their story, said they were lying.
There wasn't the one before Congress.
And
What's her name?
I strenuously
was
object
one?
to
That's an awful thing to
argue.
say.
No.
That is an awful
presenting
thing to
an
say.
I'm letting you know. That's the
No.
woman has a
No,
father,
it is
doesn't
not.
she? That
Let me
woman who was before-
strenuously object
That has nothing
again
to do
Yes,
with
please.
it.
to using phony guilt trips
Yeah.
as an explanation of why we should or shouldn't do anything.
It wasn't phony.
I don't have a granddaughter that's been raped.
Well, that's good
The
for you.
woman, it was
What you said to me.
36
No, you just
years
created.
ago.
This is the problem I have with trying to have an intelligent discussion because it comes down to you can't present any facts, but so you create a fictitious story of a guilt trip. Oh, there's poor immigrants. We got to do something for them.
I didn't say the poor immigrants did
Hold
something
on.
for me.
you
Let
did.
me interrupt. We're down to 2.5
Okay,
minutes.
all right.
Okay, just to let you know.
Yeah, no blood flowed yet.
No blood.
We need permission to extend the show.
We'll do a call-in show afterwards. So, my apologies if you took, personal exception to that. It wasn't my intent. My intent was to go, this woman that you guys say wasn't credible or whatnot, I'm saying that if someone comes out and comes out and says I was raped or I was attacked or something, how can you just say it's not credible? She's a professor.
We didn't.
You did. You said she wasn't
We
credible.
didn't say that that any woman that says that isn't
You just said
credible.
this one wasn't because it's Brett
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
No, but
She-
actually,
they
there was
had no
some guy
idea.
said it was him, not Kavanaugh.
So here's the thing.
It wasn't because of Brett Kavanaugh. It's the fact that she came out 36 years later. They questioned her. She couldn't remember. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know how she got home. She didn't know. She couldn't pinpoint that it was actually him. She brought witnesses that said that never happened.
So I'm not an
So
expert
how
in
is
this
she
stuff.
credible?
I'm not an expert in this stuff, but when you
But
talk,
that's
when you
what
talk
the
to
Democrats
the experts,
said.
you guys go to doctors,
What
right?
experts?
You go to doctors, right? When you're sick,
Yeah.
you go to a psychologist if your mind isn't right. You go to a dentist when your teeth are right. So all these people that you seem to trust in your life don't mean anything when they talk to other people and go, okay, this one.
You're exaggerating
I'm
everything
not. I'm
all
not.
over the place.
You guys just put so. I don't know.
You guys.
You
we
guys.
are three different people.
You're all the
We
same
have
to me. One big,
There you go.
one big red
That's
tie
how
right here. One big red
That's how
tie.
Democrats.
You asked me. The whole premise of the show is what happened with the elections,
Yeah, we
and I
haven't
said
figured that out yet,
I
have we?
said that we sort
By
of.
the way,
I'm sorry.
the Republicans also think they won.
Yeah.
Yes, no,
So
that's-
everybody thinks they won in this election.
Well, we'll have 2 years to see how much damage the liberals can do.
Oi,
Go, Max.
Anyway, we're getting the
That's
sign.
no more. The bell. We did a bell to ring. Ding, 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 ding.
Thank you for
Somebody will come
watching
out
this crazy
swinging.
show. We do have fun on our show, and we go away as friends, I think. No, we really do. So thank you very much for watching. We will do this again. Not
Give me a week.
maybe. We will do it
Is
again
that a
because
threat or a promise?
we have a lot of different issues to discuss. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.